Well, the country is at a virtual standstill. I say this because, think about it. Aren't the government agencies and the government departments working a tad bit slower these days? Aren't there issues in the country that needs to be resolved quickly that are not being addressed? Why? Because of this no confidence motion that has been brought in against the Prime Minister of our country and the uncertainty surrounding this result of the no confidence motion. How does all this begin? Well, it all began a long time ago when Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, then the leader of the United National Party and still the leader of the United National Party, began to make changes to the party constitution of the United National Party. Now you may wonder, how is the no confidence motion related to the constitution of the United National Party? Well, it is these party changes that this individual made to the United National Party constitution that allowed him to stay in power as the leader of the UNP for this long. It is the changes to the constitution that Ranil Wickremesinghe made which allowed him to bring his inner circle into the working committee of the United National Party so that he can be insulated from the threats that come against his leadership. What happened afterwards? Well, it's all history. The United National Party lost 30 elections. That is what eventually happened after Ranil Wickremesinghe began meddling with the constitution of the UNP. We'll keep the UNP for a side for a bit and focus on this no confidence motion. The no confidence motion will be taken up on the 4th of April, as Shane mentioned earlier. There are certain parties that have come out and straightforward said which side they will be supporting. The UNP has come out and said they will be supporting the Prime Minister. The joint opposition, which brought in this no confidence motion, has come out and said we will oppose the Prime Minister. The SLFP is still to make a final decision on what they will do. However, we heard SLFP MPs coming before the media last Friday and expressing their views and that they should support this no confidence motion and vote against the Prime Minister. As we speak right now, President Maithripala Sirisena is meeting with his SLFP members of Parliament at the President's official residence to discuss what decision should be taken when the vote eventually comes up at 9:30 p.m. on the 4th of April. Just a bit before that, the President met with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and several key members of the United National Party, again at the presidential residence. What was the outcome of this meeting? Minister Gamini Javikram Perera was there at this meeting, and as he was coming out, this is what he had to say.
We had a good discussion. We believe we can work together. However, those who want to leave will leave. We need to protect the UNP leader as well as the President. As the UNP, we will plan an 18-month development program. The President is meeting with his SLFP group now, so they will reach a decision. We have conveyed our stance, and the President will discuss this with his group. We discussed about the way forward.
Now, before all these meetings this afternoon, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe met once again with members of the UNP and leaders of the UNFGG, or the United National Front for Good Governance. Let's listen to what these members of Parliament had to say while they were coming out from this meeting.
All MPs of the United National Front took a unanimous decision on the no confidence motion to ensure that we win for the government to continue.
පාටලි ඇමතුමා හිටියේ නැහැ. විශාල් කතුරුදීන් ඇමතුමා මතක නැහැ කන. රාව් ෆකින් ඇමතුමා නෑ හිටියේ නැහැ. එතකොට එක්සත් ජාතික පෙරමුණෙන් කවුරුත් ඇවිල්ලා නැහනේ මම. නෑ අයි රාජසේනරත්න මන්ත්‍රීතුමා එතකොට රිෂාඩ් පාටලි චම්පික ඇමතුමාගේ අනිත් කණ්ඩායම ඇවිදලා හිටියා. ඒ කියන්නේ කරුණාරත්න පරණවිතාන මන්ත්‍රීතුමා ඒ වෙනුවට සහභාගී වෙලා හිටියා. සියලුම දෙනා.
Everyone unanimously decided to work against the motion and defeat it. The reform activities of the United National Party will be discussed again on the 7th and 8th, where a final decision will be reached. Some had reasons why they cannot attend, which they had informed about. Some had attended. It isn't an issue as such because they met separately yesterday as well, and I think they are meeting today as well. There are about 1 or 2 who have issues in the United National Party. They will, however, remain with us. Moreover, around 15 to 20 from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party are supporting us. We also have the support of the TNA. You never know. Around 1 or 2 from the Flower Bud, who would have never imagined, might also support us. It is with the Prime Minister. I do not know who are in the group, but there are a few senior ministers. An unanimous decision was taken to defeat the no-confidence motion. Everyone affiliated with the United National Front, including Venerable Athuruliye Ratanathero, took part in this meeting. Those who are overseas will return tonight. Apart from them and a few others who had special reasons, everyone attended the meeting. The United National Party has to undergo some serious reforms. The Prime Minister informed us today that he has expressed his willingness for a complete revamp of the UNP. On the 4th, we will heavily defeat this no-confidence motion which has been brought forward by the corrupt and opposing forces.
It should be noted in those voice cuts that were given that the members who were coming out of that meeting said that the SLMC is Rauf Hakim and the ACMC is All Sri Lanka Congress Rishad Badiuddin, party leaders, were not present during this meeting and they had met separately. Well, if this was a meeting of the UNFGG, the party leaders, why weren't these members present and what was the reason for them to meet separately? These are interesting questions to ponder upon. Now, these are all meetings that took place today. However, Maitri Gunratna, the General Secretary of the United National Freedom Front, made a startling revelation today with regard to a sort of clandestine meeting that took place last night at the residence of Minister Malik Samaravikrama. Now, this meeting included a group from the UNP. It included Ranil Wickremesinghe, the Prime Minister, and some members of the UNP who had previously expressed views which were a bit against the leadership of the UNP. Now, during this discussion, Maitri Gunratna reveals that information was revealed that the Prime Minister plans to take away the ministerial portfolios of Gamini Jayawickrama Perera, who you heard earlier, and Minister John Amaratunga to make way for younger people. Let's listen to what Maitri Gunratna has to say.
We are being informed on how the operation is being carried out. There is a plan afoot to pay significant sums of money to TNA MPs to win them over. Work is also underway on a plan to pay vast sums of money to MPs from the Muslim Congress. Individuals have been dispatched to all parts of the country to use the funds from the bonds and somehow protect the Prime Minister. It is now clear to us that they are prepared to sacrifice everything they have. We call on the members of Parliament to act according to the will of the people, act according to the demands of the people. We are on the way from Kandy and Gatambe. At every single stop that we make, the people are saying that the Prime Minister must go. We call on all people to tell the MPs representing their areas to vote for the no-confidence motion and send the Prime Minister who destroyed this country home. We have also been informed from the UNP that Ranil Wickremesinghe had met with his crony Malik Samaravikrama and decided to restructure by removing Gamini Jayawickrama Perera and John Amaratunga. The people of this country are not asking for the removal of Gamini Jayawickrama Perera and John Amaratunga. The UNP is asking the Prime Minister to leave. They are asking the party leader to leave. Any reform minus this factor will not work. The UNP and the country will not be saved by this. We must say clearly that as long as this leader is there, it cannot be saved. At the same time, the Prime Minister has said that he is looking at being a candidate for the 2019-2020 presidential election. What they are trying to do will completely bankrupt the UNP. If the leader is not changed now, the UNP will be unable to win any election, let alone the next general election.
Minister Gamini Jayawickrama Perera refused to comment on this matter when inquiries were made.
I will not respond to that, and I do not know about it either. We did not come into politics for eternity, neither we will remain here eternally. There isn't another person in that parliament who needs to leave as much as I do. So I do not wish to respond to that, and I will not even inquire into it since I do not need to look into it.
Minister John Amaratunga highlighted that Minister Gamini Jayavikrama Perera had already been removed from one ministry.
There was such a thing and Jayavikrama resigned. It has been more than 2 weeks since he left the Wildlife Ministry. Why should I leave? I have stopped leaving. I have not been told of such a thing.
Maitri Gunaratne at the start of his statement expressed something very interesting. Attempts to buy the votes from certain members of parliament belonging to certain groups. Now, the leader of the Tamil National Alliance, R. Sambandhan, who you see over here, is currently the opposition leader of our country. Now, the TNA, funny enough, is yet to announce its final decision on how they will vote at this no confidence motion. Earlier, last week, parliamentarian M.A. Sumandran said to a weekend newspaper that a final decision on how the TNA will be voting will be decided today, that is the 2nd of April. Now, R. Sambandhan has attributed this delay in making this decision to the local government meetings that took place today. Speaking in Jaffna today, TNA parliamentarian E. Saramana hinted at the party's stance.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party has said that if Ranil Wickremesinghe is victorious in the no confidence motion, they will not remain in the government. So we will pay special attention to this, since a government without a two-thirds majority has no advantage in fulfilling our needs.
Now, in spite of the views expressed by that parliamentarian, there are questions as to whether TNA MPs, the 16 TNA MPs who are in parliament, whether they will abide by the common decision reached by the TNA, because several of these members have held separate meetings, as we spoke about earlier, with the Prime Minister's group. Now, why are separate meetings being held when the party is yet to reach a decision? Is it because they want to use their vote as a bargaining chip for something, maybe perks and privileges, or to get their own agenda across through the government? I mean, the people of this country are intelligent, and they will be able to see it in the days that follow after this no confidence motion vote on what bargaining chips have been used during this vote. As we mentioned, the TNA has 16 seats in parliament. However, there was a strange twist, because the EPRLF decided to contest the local government elections alone, causing a rift in the TNA. Now, the EPRLF has 1 seat in parliament, thereby making the total votes up for grabs from the TNA to 15. However, why did the EPRLF contest the local government polls separately? Well, the main reason that they said was that the Prime Minister and the government had failed to meet their aspirations and failed to meet their promises. Funny enough, this group also had a separate meeting with the Prime Minister's group. EPRLF leader Suresh Premachandra had a separate meeting with the Prime Minister today. This is what he had to say.
We met with the EPRLF leadership. I myself and Mr. Svasakti Anandan, we met the Prime Minister today at Temple Race, and we have raised up a few issues regarding land in the name of Mahabali Authority and in the name of archaeological site and forest reservations. We discuss about the political prisoners, we discuss about the missing people, and we discuss about the minor staff who employed in the northern province. So these are some of the matters actually we discussed. And of course, the government and the Prime Minister's side, they have given us some promises. We have to wait and see whether they will take it forward or they will forget. We have to wait and see.
After 3 years in power, all of a sudden very strong commitments and promises are being made by members in the government. It is up for the intelligent people of this country to decide what they make of these statements. Now we turn over to parliamentarian M.A. Sumandran, who I mentioned earlier. State Minister Dilan Pereira of the SLFP recently claimed during a meeting that this TNA MP was elected to parliament this time around, is planning on switching teams, going to the UNP and coming in through the national list of the United National Party during the next election. Now, these are claims that are being made by State Minister Dilan Pereira. Well, there are suspicions whether this could take place as well because of certain incidents that transpired in Parliament. Now, in January, TNA leader R. Sambandhan goes before Parliament and says we need to hold the debate on this bond scam as soon as possible. This is soon after the Presidential Commission concluded its investigation and handed over its report to the President. However, when the day finally came for the debate to be held, a parliamentarian stood up and claimed the debate cannot go ahead because there are no translations in Tamil. Let's listen to these statements before we go any further.
This is a matter that concerns public funds. This is a matter in which Parliament and the country has an interest. And I don't think that interest that the public and Parliament have in this matter can be in any way diverted as a result of discussion in this Parliament not taking place at the earliest possible opportunity.
We will not be able to participate in this debate, sir. How can you suggest that we start the debate, go on one report? No, I can't speak on the Principal report, it's only in Sinhala here. No, so once I speak once, I can't speak again.
We will be able to see how the members of the Tamil National Alliance who were elected by the public vote during this no confidence motion and express their support to the people. Let us now consider the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress, the SLMC, that was missing from today's meeting with the Prime Minister and his group. Now, the SLMC too has not made a clear decision or made it clear how they will vote at this no confidence motion vote. However, with statements being expressed by parliamentarians of the SLMC just weeks ago regarding certain incidents, we find it difficult to believe that the SLMC would support the Prime Minister. Listen to what this parliamentarian from the SLMC had to say and decide.
Following the incident in Ampara, we continuously called on the Prime Minister to visit the area. However, the Prime Minister did not have the courage to come to Ampara. He went to Oluville and turned back. When unrest broke out in Digana Kandy, I asked the Prime Minister to bring the situation under control as swiftly as possible, but he did not listen to this. I wish to say one thing to the Prime Minister. You are facing a political crisis. We wish to advise you finally that all 21 Muslim parliamentarians may be forced to vote against you. The incidents in Ampara and Kandy transpired while Ranil Wickremesinghe was the Minister of Law and Order. This has been noted in Clause 14 of the No Confidence motion. We cannot disregard this point. It is our position that it is good if we take a final decision based on this point. During the concluded local government elections, I witnessed millions of rupees changing hands. The political culture today has changed.
Now, the views in Parliament were expressed about a week or two ago, but following constant meetings with the Prime Minister and his group, will the stance of the SLMC and the SLMC leader, Rauf Hakim, change? And if it does change, why? For what purpose? While the SLMC is still contemplating on what decision they should make during this no confidence motion vote, the JVP seems to have taken a strong stance on what they will be doing. I spoke with JVP parliamentarian Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa during the Newsline program this morning, and this is what he had to say. What will the JVP do when the vote is taken up against the Prime Minister?
Just the joint opposition submitted the no confidence motion to the Speaker. We announced our decision directly by a media briefing that we definitely vote against the Prime Minister, because the allegations made by the joint opposition in this no confidence motion, there are 14 issues. Out of 14, 13 based on the central bank bond scam. But as a party, if we submit that no confidence motion, there are major 3 issues to raise against the Prime Minister. The protection of the wrongdoers of the Rajapaksa regime. I think this is the very strong allegation making by the general public, especially the 6.2 million.
And this was one of their promises when they came into
major
power.
Second issue is the other corruptions, current government in Central Highway and dealing with the Sri Lanka airline. The third issue is selling of national property as Hambantota Harbour and the Colombo Eastern Terminal, like that. So these are the three major issues we are going to raise, in addition to the bond scam as well as the inefficient actions taken by the Prime Minister during the Digan incident.
Okay. Can money change the decisions of parliamentarians during this no confidence motion vote? This is the question that we posed to you, the public, and these are the responses that you gave us. Now, SLFP Minister, SLFP National Organizer, Susil Premajanta had something interesting to say. He says that the Prime Minister cannot remain in his post as per the public will. Listen to what he has to say.
Consider the public opinion at the concluded local government elections. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna received 44.6% of the vote. The UNP received 32.5% of the vote. The UPFA and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party received 14% of the vote. The JVP received 6% and the TNA received 3%. Look at how this public opinion will be represented during the vote in Parliament on the 4th. Everyone in the joint opposition will vote for it, representing 44.6% of public opinion. This is the most recent mandate from the 10th of February. Everyone in the JVP has also said they will vote for it. This represents 6% of public opinion. This alone amounts to 50%. If the UPFA and SLFP vote for it, or even if a majority of them vote for it, it will amount to 14% of public opinion. All of this will amount to 65% of public opinion. It appears that this is how the vote in Parliament will transpire. The other side will only have 35%, so they will be defeated in terms of public opinion.
නමුත් දුරුන් දිසානායක මහතා ඊයේ සඳහන් කළා තියෙනවා රජයට මේ ව්‍යාපාර ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවට කිසිදු අභියෝගයක් නොවන තියෙන උකට උන් වෙනවා කියලා.
එතුමාට ඉන්න පුළුවන්.
He can do that, but we will not. We have a much longer political history than he does. After he took up the position of secretary, the SLFP's vote base fell to 3.8% for the first time in its history.
What does the joint opposition have to say about this current situation? Let's listen.
The alliance has 96 MPs. The UNP has 107. The JVP has 6 and the TNA has 16. We suspect that 2 ministers from the SLFP will work against this motion. Since we are considering the worst case scenario, let us assume that those 2 individuals will also be on that side. This means that the 107 will become 109. The number supporting the motion will drop from 96 to 94. The JVP has said it will support the motion. That increases the number to 100. The other side has 109. We have gotten to know that 27 UNP MPs will support the motion. Some of them have already said so to the media. Even in the worst case scenario, let us assume that 15 of these 27 MPs will stand unwavering. Then we will have 115 MPs supporting the motion, while the number voting against will fall to 94. We guarantee that the sun will set on the 4th and rise on the 5th following the defeat of the Prime Minister and his government, and with the victory of the no confidence motion. You will be able to observe some amazing phenomena through this. You may even be able to find the faces of the people who will be bought over for 80 or 100 million. On the 4th, we will see the first punishment being meted out for the bond scam.
Members of civil organizations have also joined in on this debate on this no confidence motion.
If there is anyone who stands today to safeguard the aspirations of the January 8th mandate, including the President, the best thing they can do is to force the Prime Minister to step down before the vote on the no confidence motion. Thereafter, what should be done is to appoint a Prime Minister and a new government who will most successfully represent the mandate of the 8th of January. This is the only way of getting through this situation.
According to Article 48.2, when Parliament decides that there is no confidence in the government, His Excellency the President is vested with the responsibility of appointing a new Prime Minister under Article 42.4. This is very clearly outlined in the Constitution. If the Honourable Prime Minister is victorious in the no confidence motion, or if those who are submitting the motion are defeated, if a national government ceases to exist and a cabinet of 30 UNP MPs is established, then it is the President who will be the head of that cabinet according to the Constitution. This is the kind of government that we will have to operate.